I had been working 12-hour shifts for the better part of a year. No weekends off, no long lunches, no vacations. Just me, a bottomless mug of coffee, and a mountain of deadlines that never seemed to shrink. When my coworkers left at 5, I stayed. When they took PTO, I covered for them. And I never complained. Not once. Why? Because I believed in what I was building. I believed that if I worked hard enough, someone would notice. That it would all be worth it. And maybe, just maybe, I'd finally be seen. So when a longtime client, Rachel Grant, emailed me personally after a major account renewal and said, "We couldn't have done this without you, Mandy. Check your inbox in 5 minutes." I was stunned. I refreshed my email. Once, twice. And then it appeared. Subject: thank you. 2 tickets to Elton John. Front row, I stared at the screen. Then blinked and stared again. 2 VIP passes. Row A. Farewell Yellow Brick Road Tour. A dream. See, what most people don't know about me is that my dad used to play Elton John on the record player every Sunday. It's how I learned to spell crocodile. It's how I learned that music could be a language for love, grief, rebellion, and hope, all at once. And now, Elton John, front row. For me. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. I texted my sister immediately. "Mandy, you're not going to believe what just happened." She responded with 20 question marks and a string of emojis before I even had a chance to explain. But first, I wanted to do things right. The client had sent the tickets to the office under my name. Our company policy required that all client packages be signed for at the reception desk and routed through the admin assistant, Carmen, who then handed them off to the appropriate team. It was just a formality. I wasn't worried. Until I wasn't. 2 hours passed. Nothing. By 4 p.m., I walked over to Carmen's desk. "Hey, did a package come in for me?" She frowned, clicked through a few logs, then nodded. "Yeah, something from TicketWave." Ms. Blake picked it up, said it was time-sensitive. My stomach dipped. Ms. Blake. Vanessa Blake. My boss. Vice President of Client Strategy. The woman who wore red lipstick like war paint and smiled like it hurt her face. She never stayed past 5, never skipped lunch, and never missed a chance to remind me of how replaceable people can be. I walked calmly to her office and knocked. Twice. No response. Her lights were still on, but her purse was gone. So was her coat. She had left early. I stood there for a moment, hand on the doorknob, debating whether I was being paranoid. Maybe she took them to give them to me in person tomorrow. Maybe she just... No, I knew better. I opened my email. Nothing from her. No note. No congrats. So I waited. All weekend, sick with anxiety, checking my inbox like a lovesick teenager. Nothing. Then Monday morning rolled around. Vanessa strutted into the office wearing oversized sunglasses and humming softly under her breath. I froze. Was she? Singing Tiny Dancer? She dropped her purse on her desk, took off her sunglasses, and turned to me. "Oh, Mandy," she said sweetly. "Fun weekend?" I swallowed. "Actually, I was wondering if you received a package on Friday. It was addressed to me." She smiled, too wide, too rehearsed. "Oh, those tickets? Yeah, I took care of them. Don't worry about it." I blinked. "You took care of them?" She waved her manicured hand. "Those were from a client. It reflects on the firm, not just on you. I thought it'd be better to use them as a networking opportunity. I took the CEO of Carrington Group. Big potential deal." She tilted her head as if she expected me to thank her. I kept my voice level. "But the client sent them to me, personally." She laughed, low and smug. "You're lucky I haven't fired you yet, Mandy. Don't push your luck." I felt it then. The sharp, white-hot edge of humiliation. The sting of betrayal, not just by her, but by a system that let people like her thrive. I wanted to scream. to rip the tickets from her perfectly manicured hands, to tell everyone what kind of person she really was. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled. Not a real smile. No, the kind with teeth hidden behind it. "Well," I said softly, "enjoy the show." She grinned like she'd won something. She had no idea how much fun Monday would be. The moment Vanessa turned her back and disappeared into her office, still humming Rocket Man, I dropped the smile. My fingers dug into the edge of my desk. Not because of the tickets, though yes, those meant everything to me, but because of what they symbolized. An entire year of sacrifice, erased in an instant by someone who saw me as invisible, replaceable, number not invisible, useful until I stopped being quiet. I stared at my computer screen, breathing through the heat building behind my eyes. I refused to cry. Not over her. Not today. Instead, I opened my inbox and searched Rachel Grant, the client, the woman who sent me those tickets. There it was, her original message. I read it again, slower this time. "Mandy, these are for you. Personally, a small thank you for always going the extra mile. You've made working with your team a joy. Enjoy the show. You've earned it." It was in writing. Clear, director. No room for misinterpretation. But Vanessa had taken them anyway. Not because she needed them. Not because she even liked Elton John. She took them because she could. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Because she could. It echoed in my mind, louder than any music ever could. I pulled out my phone and stared at Rachel's number. And for 5 minutes, I did nothing. This wasn't just about me anymore. If I reached out, it would create waves. If I said the wrong thing, it could cost me my job. But if I said nothing, then she'd win. Again. And people like Vanessa always win when we stay quiet. I tapped the message field and started typing. "Hi, Rachel. Thank you again for the Elton John tickets. Unfortunately, I never received them. I believe they were intercepted internally. Just wanted to let you know in case there was a delivery error. Hope you had a great weekend." I stared at the screen. Was it too much? Too little? Before I could overthink it any further, I hit send. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Rachel Grant. "Excuse me? What do you mean you never got them?" My heart rate spiked. Me. I was told they were used as a strategic networking opportunity. They were apparently given to someone else at my firm. But your note made it clear they were a personal thank you. Rachel. They were. 100%. Sent to you. Unbelievable. Let me make a few calls. I froze. What did that mean? Make a few calls? Before I could spiral, I reminded myself, Rachel wasn't just a client, she was the client. A big-name executive who made deals with 7-figure budgets. If she was angry, people would notice. And that was the point. Let them notice. By noon, the whispers had already started. I heard Carmen mutter something in the kitchen about VIP tickets and Vanessa showing up in rhinestones. Someone else asked aloud why Vanessa, who doesn't even like music, had been at the Elton John concert. I didn't say a word. Instead, I started gathering intel. Over the next few hours, I pieced together more than I expected. Vanessa hadn't taken a client. She'd taken her girlfriend, Natalie, a social media influencer who had posted a not-so-subtle story from the concert that said, "Best surprise ever, front row." Elton John Queen vibes. Front row. There it was. Proof. I saved the story, screenshotted the caption, zoomed in to catch Vanessa's profile in the edge of the frame. It was her. No mistake. And then I waited. At 4:05 p.m., my desk phone rang. "Hey, Mandy," said a voice that immediately made my palms sweat. It was Carla from Executive Operations. "The partners are calling a short meeting tomorrow morning. Conference room B, 10 sharp. Mandatory." I blinked. "Did they say why?" She paused. "Nope, just said to be there." My stomach twisted. That was not normal. Meetings like that were rare. and never good. I hung up and sat still for a long time. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I'd pushed too far. Maybe she'd win again. But just as the doubt started to creep in, my phone buzzed with a final message from Rachel. I just spoke with your leadership. Thank you for letting me know. Don't worry, Mandy. I made things very clear. That night, I barely slept. The concert had come and gone. The glitter and the lights, the screaming fans, the piano solos. It had all happened without me. But Monday? Monday was still coming. And Vanessa Blake had no idea she'd just taken center stage in a show she couldn't control. I arrived at the office early Tuesday morning. Too early. The kind of early that screams anxiety and anticipation in equal parts. The floor was quiet. That eerie stillness before the storm. 10 a.m. still felt miles away, but I needed to be there, to see it unfold. I didn't know what the partners had planned. I didn't know how far Rachel had gone. All I knew was this. Today was going to be different. At 9:45, people started trickling into conference room B. Vanessa wasn't among them. Not yet. Her office door remained closed, blinds drawn, as if nothing was out of the ordinary. But I could feel it in the air. Something was brewing. By 9:58, every seat was filled except for one. At 10:02, the door opened. Vanessa walked in like she was entering a cocktail party, not a mandatory executive meeting. Red lipstick, power heels, a blazer too crisp for coincidence. She scanned the room like she owned it, then smiled at me, tight and smug, and took the seat across the table. All right, she said, crossing one leg over the other. Shall we begin? Before anyone could respond, the door opened again. In walked Jonathan Pierce, managing partner. Silver hair, perfect posture, and a reputation for professionalism so sharp it could draw blood. He wasn't alone. Following him was Rachel Grant. The entire room stiffened. Vanessa blinked. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Rachel, she said, forcing a laugh. Wow, this is a surprise. Rachel didn't smile back. Is it? Jonathan took his seat at the head of the table. Let's get started. This won't take long. The room fell silent. I received a call yesterday from Ms. Grant, he said evenly, concerning a very serious matter. Vanessa shifted slightly in her chair. If this is about the concert tickets... Jonathan raised a hand. Let me finish. He turned to me. Mandy, could you confirm something for the record? I nodded, my voice steady. Rachel sent me 2 front-row tickets to Elton John's concert as a personal thank you for working on the Simmons account. She addressed the email to me, included a personal note, and shipped them directly to the office under my name. Jonathan looked to Rachel. She nodded. That's correct. Vanessa cleared her throat. If I may, I simply believed the tickets would be better used as a corporate asset. I invited a potential investor. Rachel cut in, sharp as a blade. No, Vanessa, you took your girlfriend. Natalie, right? The room froze. Rachel pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and turned the screen toward the partners. Posted this to 43,000 followers. Tagged herself at the concert, front row. Vanessa's face paled. Jonathan leaned forward, folding his hands. Ms. Blake, we have reason to believe you knowingly intercepted a client's personal gift, used it for personal reasons, and misrepresented that action as a strategic company decision. Vanessa's voice cracked, barely holding composure. I thought it was within my rights. We don't have a strict policy on... We do now, Jonathan said. And more importantly, we expect integrity. Rachel's tone softened, but the steel remained. Mandy worked herself to the bone on that project. I sent those tickets because I wanted her to feel seen. She deserved it. The room was silent. Jonathan turned to me again. Mandy, I want to formally apologize. This behavior is unacceptable and does not reflect the values of this firm. I nodded, unsure if I should speak. My hands were trembling under the table. Vanessa's lips pressed into a hard line. this feels a little extreme for concert tickets. No, Rachel replied, calmly but firmly. This is about respect, about how you treat the people who make your success possible. Jonathan stood. Effective immediately, Ms. Blake will be placed on administrative leave pending further review. Her access will be revoked by end of day. We will issue a formal statement to the team. Vanessa's chair screeched as she stood. You're overreacting. This isn't up for debate, Jonathan said flatly. You may collect your things. HR will escort you. Her eyes landed on me, wide, shaking, livid. You planned this? She hissed. I met her gaze, calm and unapologetic. No, Vanessa, you did. I just made sure the right people knew. She turned and stormed out, heels clicking like a ticking clock. The door slammed behind her. I exhaled. For the first time in days, I could finally breathe. Rachel smiled at me. Don't let people like her dim your light. You've got more to offer than she'll ever understand. And with that, she left the room. But I knew then, this wasn't over. This was just intermission. The real transformation? That was still coming. The office felt different the moment I stepped out of that conference room. Lighter, like someone had opened a window in a stuffy room and finally let the truth in. Vanessa's office door stood wide open, empty. Her nameplate had been removed within the hour. The framed quote on her wall, "Success is the best revenge," was gone. I passed it and didn't feel satisfaction. Not yet. Because the truth is, when someone like Vanessa is finally held accountable, you don't feel victorious. You feel raw. Like your body hasn't caught up with the fact that you're no longer bracing for the next attack. My coworkers were whispering again. Furtive glances, quick nods of approval, relief. One even slid a sticky note onto my desk when I wasn't looking. About time. You did the right thing. But I didn't feel like a hero. I felt tired. Tired from fighting to be seen. Tired of pretending that the late nights and endless effort didn't cost me something. The rest of that day passed in a blur. HR sent a formal memo to the team. There would be a leadership restructuring. Vanessa would not be returning, but no mention of me. No public apology, no announcement, no recognition. Rachel had defended me. Jonathan had backed me. But the company? They were already trying to move on. That night, I sat on my apartment floor, still in work clothes, laptop open but untouched. The Elton John tickets, well, the digital copies I had printed before they vanished, sat beside me. I looked at them and realized it was never about the tickets. It was about how easily someone could rewrite the rules when it suited them, how quickly people can claim what they didn't earn, and how rarely anyone stops them. I didn't want to go back to that place. Not as the same Mandy. Not as the woman who quietly stayed late and gave everything without asking for anything back. Something inside me had shifted. The next morning, my inbox was already full when I logged in. Calendar invites, project timelines, status updates, business as usual. Except something was waiting for me at the top of the inbox. Subject: coffee? From Rachel Grant Mandy, I'm in town another day. Would love to buy you a cup of something strong and talk about what's next. If you're free this afternoon, I'll be at Porterhouse Cafe around 2. You deserve more than what they've been giving you. Let's chat. My heart skipped. Rachel wasn't the kind of person who wasted time. She didn't do casual. This wasn't a sympathy coffee. This was something more. I checked my schedule. A client check-in at 1, internal stand-up at 2:30. I could swing it. Barely. By 1:55, I was walking into Porterhouse Cafe, palms sweating, nerves rattling like dice in a cup. Rachel was already there, seated at a corner table, sipping a dark roast like she owned the place. She waved me over with a smile. "Mandy," she said warmly. "Thanks for coming." "Thanks for inviting me," I replied, sliding into the seat across from her. She leaned in. "Let me get straight to it. I like you. You're smart, you're disciplined, and you handled the whole Vanessa situation with more grace than I would have mustered. I managed a polite smile. It didn't feel very graceful. She shrugged. Grace doesn't mean passive, it means strategic. And you were. I didn't know what to say, so I sipped my coffee. Rachel set her cup down. I've been thinking. My firm's expanding. New division, client success and engagement strategy. I need someone to lead it. My eyes widened. Lead it? She nodded. I don't want someone who's been coasting in leadership. I want someone who knows how to hustle, how to solve problems without a blueprint. Someone who's lived the grind. That's you. The air around me seemed to shift. I don't have an MBA, I said, almost without thinking. Rachel laughed. Neither do I, but I know talent when I see it, and I don't let it get buried under people like Vanessa. She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a draft offer. Full-time, leadership role, salary nearly double what I was making now. I stared at it, hands trembling slightly. I don't expect an answer now, she said, but I hope you'll consider it. You've done more than survive. You've earned the right to thrive. I nodded slowly. Thank you. As we stood and shook hands, Rachel smiled one last time. Oh, and next time I get concert tickets, she said with a wink, they'll be sent directly to you. I laughed. For the first time in weeks, it felt real. As I walked out into the sunlight, one thought echoed in my mind. Maybe the best revenge isn't watching someone fall. Maybe it's finally rising where they tried to keep you down. I didn't sleep much that night. The folder Rachel handed me sat unopened on my kitchen table as if it were radioactive. I'd glanced at it maybe a dozen times. I even picked it up once. But I hadn't opened it. Not because I didn't want it. God, I wanted it. But because opening it meant admitting that everything I'd believed about loyalty, hard work, and being rewarded in due time had been a lie. I had spent years giving everything to a company that would have happily let Vanessa Blake take credit for my work. And they had, for a long time. It took a public humiliation and a near PR disaster for them to even acknowledge my value. And now here I was, holding an offer from someone who saw that value immediately. At 2 a.m., I gave up on pretending to sleep and padded barefoot into the kitchen. I poured myself a glass of water, walked to the table, and sat down. Then I opened the folder. My eyes widened. Rachel hadn't been exaggerating. The offer was substantial. A leadership title, a generous signing bonus, full creative control of a new division, and support staff to build my own team. But what stood out the most was the final line. We believe in rewarding impact, not titles. You've already proven you belong at the top. Now let's build something together. I sat there for a long time rereading that line. No fluff, no corporate buzzwords, just the truth. By morning, I had made my decision. When I walked into the office, the energy had shifted again. Vanessa was gone, but in her place was a heavy silence, like everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Who would take over her role? Would things really change? I walked to my desk, nodded at a few coworkers, and sat down. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Denise, HR. Do you have a few minutes to swing by my office? I knew what this was. I grabbed my bag and the folder, tucking it inside, then made my way to HR. Denise greeted me with a smile that was both polite and cautious. Mandy, good to see you. Please sit. I did. She folded her hands on the table. First, I want to acknowledge everything that's happened. I know things have been tense. But I also want to personally thank you for how you handled yourself. The leadership team recognizes it. I nodded but didn't say anything yet. She continued, Jonathan asked me to discuss your future with us. There's interest in you taking over a revised client success manager role, possibly with a senior title. We'd like to make that official next week. A promotion with compensation to match. She smiled. It's well-deserved. I inhaled slowly. Then I reached into my bag and slid Rachel's folder across the desk. Denise blinked, her smile faltering. "What's this?" "My resignation." Silence. She opened the folder and read for a moment, eyes scanning the document. I watched the realization dawn on her face like a slow sunrise. "You're leaving?" I nodded. "Rachel Grant offered me a position. I'm accepting." She leaned back, clearly stunned. "That's unexpected." "No," I said gently. "What's unexpected is that it took someone outside this company to see what I was worth. I've worked here for 6 years, and I've only ever been promoted when someone got fired or embarrassed." Denise exhaled. "I understand. I do. I just wish we had moved faster." I smiled, but it was sad. "So do I." She reached out almost instinctively, like she wanted to stop the bleeding. "Are you sure this isn't just a reaction to the Vanessa situation?" "It's not," I said. "It's the result of everything before that. Vanessa was just the final straw." She nodded slowly, setting the folder aside. "When will your last day be?" "Friday." A long pause. "Well, congratulations, Mandy. I hope they treat you better than we did." I stood, shook her hand, and left without looking back. By noon, the news had spread. Coworkers stopped by my desk. Some shocked, others congratulatory. A few looked at me like I was abandoning ship, but most? They looked at me like I'd done something they hadn't yet found the courage to do. I spent the rest of the day writing my farewell email. Not bitter, not vengeful, just honest. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the late nights and early mornings, the hard days that made me stronger, and the moments that reminded me I was capable of more. I'm moving on. Not because I'm bitter, but because I finally believe I deserve better. And for the first time since this all began, I didn't feel like I was walking away. I felt like I was finally walking toward something. 1 year later, I stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of my new office, watching the city move below me. Skyscrapers glittered in the afternoon sun. Taxis buzzed down avenues like veins pumping life into the heart of everything. My name was etched on the glass door behind me. Mandy Lawson, Director of Strategic Client Growth. The job Rachel had offered turned out to be everything she promised. And more. I had a team now. A real one. People who looked to me for guidance, not approval. People who respected what I had to say because they'd seen what I'd been through. We had built something together. Contracts, partnerships, campaigns. On trust, not fear. No whispering behind closed doors. No red-lipped sabotage in stilettos. I was no longer the overworked employee hoping to be noticed. I was the one people noticed. That afternoon, as I reviewed an upcoming pitch presentation, my phone buzzed. A news alert lit up the screen. Former VP Vanessa Blake files lawsuit for defamation and wrongful termination. I stared at it for a moment. Then I laughed. The sound surprised even me. It was light. Free. Vanessa still hadn't let go. Still spinning her narrative. Still trying to claw her way back into a world that had moved on without her. I tapped the screen and opened the article. There she was, standing on the courthouse steps, flanked by a lawyer who looked like he had stopped caring 10 minutes into the press conference. Vanessa looked tired, bitter. Her hair was flat, her eyes heavy with defiance. The headline beneath her photo read, "I was betrayed. Used. My career was stolen by a jealous subordinate." I scoffed. Subordinate. She was still telling the same story. The one where she was the victim and I was the threat. What she never understood was that I wasn't a threat because I wanted her job. I was a threat because I stopped letting her walk all over me. I put the phone down and returned to my notes, but not even 10 minutes later, another ping lit up my screen. An email this time. From Rachel Grant. Subject, thought you'd enjoy this. Just saw the news. Looks like some people still don't understand that integrity beats ego. Every time. Hope you're thriving, rockstar. I smiled. I was thriving. And not because Vanessa fell, but because I finally stopped believing I had to stay where I wasn't valued. The next day, I got a call from Jonathan Pierce. Yes, that Jonathan, the managing partner from my old firm. His voice was as smooth and composed as ever. Mandy, he said, I won't waste your time. I saw the article, and while I can't say I'm shocked, I wanted to reach out. Why? I asked, genuinely curious. Because losing you was the biggest mistake we ever made, he said. And we'd like to correct that. Would you consider coming back? Senior partner track. Whatever terms you need. I paused. Let that sink in. The same company that once ignored me, sidelined me, let someone else steal my reward, now wanted me to come back. It should have felt triumphant, vindicating, but it didn't. It felt unnecessary. Thank you, I said, but I'm not coming back. A long silence stretched across the line. I understand, he said finally. If you ever change your mind, I won't, I said gently, but I appreciate the offer. I hung up and exhaled, smiling to myself. I hadn't just survived Vanessa. I had outgrown the entire chapter of my life she represented. As the sun dipped lower over the skyline, I pulled out the photo I kept in my drawer. My dad and me sitting on our old living room floor, surrounded by records. He's smiling. I'm pointing at a vinyl sleeve with wide eyes. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. He used to say, real class isn't about the car you drive or the office you work in. It's about how you treat people when nobody's watching. He was right. This wasn't just a story about tickets or betrayal. It was about knowing your worth even when no one else sees it. About not letting anyone define you. Not bosses, not titles, not silence. I had walked away from a broken system, and I had built something better. So when people asked what happened with Vanessa, I never bragged. I never gossiped. I just smiled and said, she stole my seat at a concert. I took her seat at the table. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all. It's rising so high that the people who tried to bury you can't even reach you anymore.